So the Justice Department announcing an arrest of an American inspired by ISIS. And it's a teenager, the 18-year-old from Idaho. The government says he vowed to kill churchgoers across his hometown in the name of ISIS. The takedown coming just weeks after ISIS took responsibility for a gruesome attack in Russia, and nearly 1 month to the day from the FBI director delivering this warning about our own homeland.
It's the first time I've seen in a long, long time the threats from homegrown violent extremists, that is jihadist-inspired extremists, domestic violent extremists, foreign terrorist organizations, and state-sponsored terrorist organizations all being elevated at one time.
In moments, a former agent tells us what is likely on the FBI's radar. Come on in, I'm Blake Berman. This is The Hill on NewsNation. All right, here we are, here we go. Hanging out with us today, Nan Hayworth, the former congresswoman from the state of New York, Kurt Bardella, Democratic strategist and NewsNation contributor, Carly Atchison is the former spokesperson for the DeSantis campaign, and Amisha Cross, former Obama campaign advisor and Democratic strategist. Hello to you all. Nice to have you all in. Happy Tuesday.
Thank you.
I learned something today about this town. There is a congressional gaming caucus. Did you all know that? I had no clue. You knew this as a former congresswoman, I guess.
I was a member of the cigar caucus.
Oh, there you go. There's all these sorts of there's all these sorts of groups here in Washington, and the top lawmaker on the gaming caucus with all that's going on with sports betting right now will be joining us momentarily. But first, the FBI director warned about quote-unquote homegrown violent extremists just last month. And today, we got to look at what he's talking about. The Department of Justice announcing the arrest of 18-year-old Alexander Mercurio from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Now, the FBI said it had been tracking the 18-year-old for more than a year and arrested him just days before he vowed to kill across his hometown in the name of ISIS. The Department of Justice says he was planning to go from church to church in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, quote, rinse and repeat for all 21-plus churches in the town before everyone is killed. Amisha, we heard the FBI director, you just heard Christopher Wray from last month warn about these sorts of possibilities. We got to listen to Christopher Wray on this stuff, I think.
We do, and it's something that he's been warning on for a while now. The radicalization of young people in this country, particularly drawn across social media, isn't necessarily something new. I recall 2016, 2017, University of Mississippi freshman students who actually were actively recruited by ISIS and were joining as well. And there was a criminal conviction for at least one of those for plots to kill Americans. I think that this is something we should pay a lot of attention to, also something that has been on the rise for quite a few years now, particularly across social media.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think more, first of all, good for the FBI for identifying this person. But I think one of the immediate threats that we're facing as well that's not getting a ton of attention from the Biden administration is the number of people on the terrorist watch list coming across the border. I think I read a statistic about 2,500% increase in the Biden administration of people on the terrorist watch list coming across the border that we know of.
So not to minimize that, because that's obviously an issue, but this is an American from Idaho, an 18-year-old, a teenager, though.
Absolutely. And look, we should treat anybody who's a threat, absolutely they should be treated. But I would like to see the same focus from the administration on this issue of the homegrown, as we know people are coming across the border illegally, and this administration has been a failure.
Kurt, I'll end with you in a second, but is that where you are on this?
Certainly. And the other concern that we have is that the FBI does have limited resources. We know that it's been concentrating on some groups that perhaps presumably probably do pose far less threat to the national integrity or our general safety than ISIS does. So I think the FBI should focus its efforts on those who literally are wishing death to America.
Yeah, I think that she was right when talking about the awesome impact that social media has had in the ability to reach out and radicalize all kinds of groups of people. We are living in a much more extreme society today than we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Social media and the way that it's able to directly impact and touch every single person, and especially younger people. You go to any place in America, and all you see are kids, teenagers looking at a screen.
All right, come on in. Tracy Walder, NewsNation national security contributor, also former FBI special agent, former CIA officer as well. Well, Tracy, nice to see you as always. So when, obviously we heard Christopher Wray last month basically give the warning. Today, when you heard about this, read about it, saw it, you thought, as a former FBI special agent, what?
Well, thank you for having me, Blake. Look, I've worked counterterrorism since before 9/11, really. And to be honest with you, this is not surprising to me. Someone asked me how frequently this happens. All day, every day, people are radicalized online. And I think what Amisha was saying before about the fact that Ray has actually warned about this before. And quite frankly, ISIS has told us exactly what they were going to do since January. And they put out another statement in May specifically stating for Lone Rangers to attack churches, and Christians and Jews was really who they were going after. So this isn't surprising.
So you talk about, Lone Rangers, right? The FBI came across this guy because they say he was involved in financial transactions, and then, whoa, okay, all of a sudden you got to follow this one, and that's how they figured out what he was up to. Story that I just read a couple weeks ago, Tracy, target number one for ISIS-K. Different subset, but nonetheless ISIS. Terror group that hit Moscow nightclub has sights set on U.S., but the article talked about, it said, quote, they clearly would like to strike the homeland, but their challenge is penetrating our security, which has proven to be quite resilient in recent years. Is that where you are with this, that ISIS has desires, but at this point they can't necessarily break through, thankfully, here at home?
Yeah, so ISIS absolutely has desires to penetrate us here in the United States. And to be honest with you, I believe that they found a platform or a training ground really in the political instability that is Afghanistan right now. That is where their kind of launch pad is. But they are using that internet, really looking at that 18 to 25-year-old crowd. That's really who they are radicalizing. Right. And they have expressed interest in this before. Look, they're having trouble getting into our infrastructure, and that is a great thing. I have no issues with that. But I think the problem is lone wolves. It's almost like playing terrorist whack-a-mole. It's extremely difficult to target lone wolves because they're not communicating with each other. And that's how we usually catch them.
I got to run, Tracy, real quick. But it's a headline I saw today, Champions League host nations tighten security after Islamic State threats. Is that where we're headed right now?
In my opinion, yes, I saw that as well. I really do think that is where we're headed. I think ISIS is really creating a global terror.
All right, Tracy Walder, former FBI, former CIA. We'll have to leave you there. NewsNation national security contributor. Tracy, thank you.
Thank you, Blake.
All right, joining us now is the Republican congressman from New York. Come on in, Congressman Mike Lawler. He is also a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, nice to see you and talk to you as always. You're a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. You've seen the news today. You just heard Tracy there, former FBI, former CIA. You've seen these headlines. I wonder, as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, what goes through your mind and what you make of it?
Look, we are in the most precarious place since World War II. And I think we have to recognize the threats. We have to recognize the threats that are being posed by our enemies. China, Russia, and Iran are engaged in an unholy alliance that seeks to undermine and destabilize the free world. We have threats in the Middle East, we have threats in Europe, we have threats in the Indo-Pacific, and here in America, and especially with our porous southern border and the lack of control by this administration, we've seen a number of people on the terror watch list cross. And we have to be cognizant of what is going on around us. This is not a time for games. This is not a time for a weak posture. Peace through strength, and it occurs when America is supporting its allies. It occurs when America is taking on the threats that are emanating around the globe.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump in on you, but when you said the most precarious time since World War II, that's exactly what Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan Chase, said in his shareholder letter yesterday. Congressman, I heard you just mention China, Russia, Iran, the southern border, as you see it from your perch on the Foreign Affairs Committee. What is sort of the biggest worry for you as you survey the global landscape right now?
Well, the world is a tinderbox. You see, obviously, the situation in Ukraine. You see the situation in Israel, the terrorist attack by Hamas, which is funded by Iran. 93% of their budget is funded by Iran. Iran gets those funds from the illicit oil trade. China is the biggest purchaser of Iranian petroleum. And so the United States, we are the leader of the free world. We need to act like it, and we need to bring together our allies, support them, in this time of need, especially getting lethal aid. It's why I introduced Defending Borders, Defending Democracies, along with Brian Fitzpatrick and Jared Golden, a Republican and a Democrat, to get aid to our allies and to secure our border. We need to act.
Congressman, I want to draw your attention to a story I was reading in Newsweek. And here was the first line. It said, quote, a family of 4 migrants in New York City, to your backyard now, receives more monthly funding than a family of 4 that includes a military veteran who receives disability compensation. You took to X to rail about this. In your view, what needs to change?
Look, New York State is in serious trouble. We have an incompetent governor who is talking about cutting state school aid so that she can fund illegal immigrants in New York City. She has given more in benefits to illegal immigrants than she does to veterans. It's disgusting, it's shameful, and it has to stop. And you add into that the disastrous criminal justice policies in New York that resulted in the death of a law enforcement officer, Detective Jonathan Diller, just 2 weeks ago. Something has to give here, and it starts with overhauling New York's laws and budget process, and it starts with holding its elected representatives accountable. Kathy Hochul is a disgrace as governor. She has failed miserably to deal with these issues, whether it be the border crisis that has resulted in over 100,000 migrants coming to New York, as well as the rapid rise in violent crime.
I hear you talk about Kathy Hochul, the governor. You just called her a disaster. You described her as incompetent. You, Congressman, are in one of those swing districts that are going to be watched coming up here in November. I'm sitting next to Nan Hayworth, same district as yours,
Yep.
so you two know all about this. Donald Trump, you're going to be asked a lot about him. He basically just said yesterday, leave abortion up to the states. In New York, that's the Democratic governor, Kathy Hochul, who you just called incompetent. New York is run by Democrats. Was that a mistake for Donald Trump to essentially say, you know what, states like New York that are democratically run, it's up to you?
No, look, the Dobbs decision returned it to the states, which is frankly something that Republicans argued for years. I've been very clear on my position. I'm personally pro-life. I do support exceptions for rape, incest, and the life and health of the mother. But I do not support a federal ban on abortion and will never vote for one. These decisions are best left to the voters in each state. And you're seeing that. In the state of New York, the law is settled. It is on the books, and it's not changing. And so, I think the former president's position is right. It is up to the states. It is not up to the federal government, and I will not support a federal ban.
Congressman, nice to talk to you as always. Mike Lawler from the state of New York. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep, you know this district as well as him.
I do.
That's sort of the pickle that a lot of these lawmakers in these swing districts are in right now, is it not?
Yeah.
Between now and November.
Yeah. Republicans, Dobbs was the right constitutional decision. And there are Democrats who would agree with that as well on strictly that basis. But politically, it created a big challenge for Republicans that continues, and Democrats do run and win on abortion policy. I think President Trump took the exact right approach. It's an approach that I have been urging. Take abortion off the table at the federal level. Let citizens in every state determine what they think is best. Okay. And Republicans can always urge our pro-life friends and colleagues to be advocates on the ground, use their First Amendment rights.
Amisha, real quick, back to where we started all this. The answers that he gave on China, Russia, Iran, southern border, the world's a tinderbox. I think we're going to hear that out of Republicans down the home stretch. As a Democrat, you would say what?
I think you're going to hear that out of Democrats as well. There are a few things that I agreed with out of his commentary, but that listing of our greatest threats, I think, is very true. And we've seen that play out, particularly because of the radicalization we talked about earlier, but also what we're seeing happen in neighborhoods across the country. Even though crime is down, specifically for our larger cities in America, there are still pockets where people are really feeling that burn. Well, statistics show us that it is found in Chicago, in New York, in all of the places that people claim
being
it,
challenged.
they're just not there.
Being
so my father's chief of police in Chicago. We know what these numbers are.
Your dad's the chief of police in Chicago? Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that about you.
Wow,
fascinating. Learn something new on this show every day. Very cool. Misha Cross. Coming up, he is one of the country's most popular stars, an actor, wrestler, businessman. He's simply known as The Rock. So why are some on the left now upset with Dwayne Johnson? Plus, is the world's second richest man becoming the world's most powerful man? Elon Musk making his mark in yet another country with Starlink, offering up services in Albania now. And why is he about to meet with the Argentinian president in Texas? But first, is Israel about to face boycotts in the Olympics? Think it can't happen? Well, it just did in the Paralympics. We speak with the Israeli ambassador to the U.S., the former ambassador, on the other side of the break. You are watching The Hill here on NewsNation. We are back in a few. Stay with us. Hold on. Tell me more about you.
Megyn Kelly joins Dan Abrams tonight on Dan Abrams Live, starting at 9/8 Central.
If you have Graves' disease and itchy eyes, the truth may be even more uncomfortable. People with Graves could also get thyroid eye disease, or TED, which may need a different doctor. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
Self can securely report your positive rent payments to all 3 credit bureaus for free, which can increase your credit score and expand your housing options so that one day you won't have to see this face at your door. Increase your credit score with free rent reporting. Download Self today.
Oh yeah, man, take it from your inner child. What you really need in life is some freaking torque.
What?
The Dodge Hornet RT, the totally torqued out crossover.
This is it. One play. This is when we find
Hey, quick question. Student body math proficiency. Would we say it's good, fair, satisfactory? What? Like a percentage, if you had to guess.
Get out of here, man.
Understood.
Hey, grab it.
Great student-teacher ratio.
Marcy! We gotta go! Marcy! We have got to go!
We bring you the real in-depth school info.
What were you thinking?
I don't know.
Ding dong.
Homes.com.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking
About our honeymoon.
What about Africa? Safari.
Hot air balloon ride.
Swim with elephants.
Wait, can we afford a safari?
Great question. Like everything, takes a little planning.
Or put the money towards a down payment?
On a ranch.
In Montana?
With horses.
Let's take a look at those scenarios.
JP Morgan Wealth Management has advisors in Chase branches and tools like Wealth Plan to help keep you on track. When you're planning for it all, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
I'm getting vaccinated Pfizer's pneumococcal pneumonia vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
Come on. I already got a pneumonia vaccine, but I'm asking about the added protection of Prevnar 20.
If you're 19 or older with certain chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Prevnar 20 is approved in adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most common side effects were pain and swelling at the injection site, muscle pain, fatigue, headache, and joint pain.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
I don't want to risk ending up in the hospital with pneumococcal pneumonia.
That's why I chose Prevnar 20.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist about the Pfizer vaccine for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I met with the TurboTax expert because I had 2 full-time jobs, lawyering and lambing.
Count on me, Mia. I'll file your taxes for you with 100% accuracy guaranteed.
Let a TurboTax full-service expert do your taxes as soon as today.
What would you do if you saw someone choking?
Somebody help me!
If you're like this man, you would get the LifeVac device you keep in your car for this very reason. I'm Arthur Lee, inventor of LifeVac, which is made right here in the USA. Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple.
Look at that, buddy.
LifeVac suction removes the obstruction, saving a life, like over 1,000 lives already saved by LifeVac. Be a hero. Call LifeVac now for your life-saving device at 877-LifeVac or go to lifevac.net.
NewsNation, tomorrow. Is college really worth it? Maybe not. Meet the blue-collar millionaires who have a better idea. A special edition of Cuomo, trading up with guest Mike Rowe. Tomorrow, 8/7 Central, only on NewsNation.
All right, welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation. So is he one of the world's biggest diplomats or simply just mixing it up as one of the world's wealthiest men? Check out these posts, all from basically today. Elon Musk announcing his worldwide internet service Starlink is now available in Albania, of all places. Musk is also fighting back and defying the Supreme Court of Brazil, the court ordering the removal of posts from far-right activists on X. Plus, there's this. Argentina's president, Javier Milei, announcing plans to meet with Musk at his Texas factory later this week. Diplomat, world's second or third wealthiest man, depending on the day. What's going on here?
I think he's just like a one-man chaos grenade. And
chaos what?
Chaos grenade. Wherever he wants to go, whatever he wants to do, he has the resources and the means and the technology
Starlink
to be able to get in with any nation, with any leader. And when you have the technology and you have things that nations want and or need, that's going to give you a direct avenue, a direct access that most people don't. He gets to be whatever he wants to be. There is no one word that describes what Elon Musk is at this point.
What's going on here?
It's so funny to me, this kind of almost like media obsession with Elon Musk and everything he tweets and everything he does.
Do you think it's a media obsession?
I do. I mean, I think to me, he's a free speech absolutist. He's a private citizen. He can do what he wants. I don't know what the proposed solution is if we are trying to say maybe the government should come in and check his power somehow. He does what he wants.
So,
and I think that's just the nature of what he's been able to do. And by the way, I think what he's done with Twitter is awesome.
So look at the headline today, Wall Street Journal, the black market that delivers Elon Musk's Starlinks to U.S. foes. And there's some pretty deep reporting about how Starlink ends up getting to Russia. I think, Carly, that's some of the worry here is that Starlink, private company, Elon Musk running a private company, he can kind of do what he wants with Starlink.
Yeah, but again, maybe that's true, and if there's a worry there, okay. But what's the proposed solution here? Who's going to come in and say, you as a private citizen, because you're too wealthy, you've invented all these things, now we're going to come in and check you? That's a road I don't think anybody's going to go down.
There's also a black market for equipment and material made in the United States and paid for by U.S. taxpayers. I don't favor that, but yes.
Okay. All right. Meantime, back here in the U.S., the Vice President, Kamala Harris, today met with families of Americans still being held hostage in Gaza by Hamas. They spoke afterwards to reporters.
We don't want any more progress. We want results. And we are so grateful and thankful to the American administration and Congress for all of the support. But we need results. We need our people home.
Joining us now is the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. Mr. Ambassador, nice to speak with you once again here on the Hill. You hear those families after being inside the White House today saying, we need results. There's been a lot of focus, and rightfully so, about what's going on inside Gaza and the U.S. military, or the Israeli military, rather, and the pressure on them. The president, the administration keeps getting pressured from the left, as we see month after month, week after week. Do you worry that the hostages, that they're not getting the attention that they deserve here 6 months in now?
Of course. First of all, it's good to be with you, but of course. The message that too frequently comes out of Washington, and not just out of Washington, but around the world, is a message to Hamas, which is hold on. Don't give up the hostages. Hold on for another week or two. Have more Palestinian civilians killed in Gaza in this war, and the world will impose a ceasefire. And once the world imposes a ceasefire, Hamas will emerge from the tunnels. It will declare victory. It will rearm and prepare for the next onslaught against Israel, because that's precisely what its leaders say they're going to do. They make no attempt to, in any way, to disguise this. So until the world says to Hamas, there's no escape, you're either going to face Israel's military might or you're going to give up the hostages. Why then would Hamas give up the hostages? It's got to hold on to them. And it's surprising to me that there's actually surprise anywhere in the world when Hamas rejects the terms of the hostage agreement, as they've done up till now.
I just asked you about the Biden administration, so let me ask you about the man who wants to replace the sitting president, Donald Trump, the former president. He said this recently, something he said a couple times now. I want you to listen to it. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Any Jewish person that votes for Biden does not love Israel. How a Jewish person can vote for Biden or a Democrat, because they are on the side 100% of the Palestinians.
Do you take issue with that message, Mr. Ambassador? Should he be saying that?
No, he should not be saying that. American Jews can be Democrats, they can be Republicans, and they can love Israel just the same. And they can even be critical of President Biden and still vote for him. It's not the issue. The political polarization in the United States is such that many American Jews, and I've just come back from Washington, realized, but recently say that, they feel very uncomfortable criticizing the current president, publicly, for fear that that criticism be interpreted as support for the other candidate. And that's unfortunate. Israel used to be the great bipartisan issue in Congress, and I dearly hope that we can get back to that place again.
NBC News just posted an interview with President Biden. I'm literally reading this off my phone, Mr. Ambassador, and it says this: President Joe Biden upped his criticism of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's role in the Israel-Hamas war, but did not indicate any significant changes in U.S. policy toward its Mideast ally. Quote, "I think what he is doing is a mistake." You would say what?
I say the following. The Prime Minister of Israel is not the President of the United States. Prime Minister of Israel is not the Commander-in-Chief of the Israel Defense Forces. The government is. In that government, it's a national unity government. Has members from the opposition, Benny Gantz, for one. And Prime Minister Netanyahu does not make decisions on his own, the way a president could. And so the policies that Israel has followed in Gaza up to now, and including Israel's intention to go into Rafah and continue this war until we defeat Hamas, are the positions of the people of Israel and not of one person. And that has to be drummed in again and again and again. It's the most fundamental mistake I hear every night in the news.
Michael Oren, former ambassador, Israeli ambassador to the United States. Once again, nice to speak with you, sir. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Why does the president continue to make that his position?
Because he has to.
Why?
This is an election year. Obviously, there are a lot of voters.
So is it just about the election? And not just about, right? Because it's not. You can't nail this. You can't nail war down to one thing.
Correct. The other issue is that, the issues between Israel, the Israeli leadership, and the Palestinian people is not a new issue. So I think that this has been a quagmire for quite some time. It has bubbled over into something that the United States honestly would have hoped to have not had this level of involvement in. But because we do fund and have funded several of the military weaponry that is used there are some activists obviously on the more liberal side of the aisle, obviously many people who are in elected positions as well, obviously folks who care about the innocent deaths of Palestinian civilians who have come to the fold and are asking this president to do something.
Real quick.
If I may offer, under President Trump, heavy sanctions were placed on Iran and on its ruling theocracy because we know, and in fact it was acknowledged in the Obama administration, that Iran will fund terror with whatever we allow them to have. Under President Biden, those Trump-era sanctions have been lifted. That facilitates the flow and has facilitated the flow of billions of dollars to Iran, and that funds terror.
All right, leave it there. Still much more ahead here on The Hill. He is the former senior advisor to Donald Trump and the former president's son-in-law. Serious questions about billions in foreign investments that he took after leaving the White House. Well, now, Jared Kushner, did you see this story today? It was one of the first things I read this morning. Jared Kushner is talking to the New York Times about his new business ventures, what he said coming up, and did you know that there's a group in Congress looking into issues related to sports gambling? So what is their goal? I'll talk with the head of that group, the Congressional Gaming Caucus, when The Hill on NewsNation returns. Stay with us.
I'm blind, but I'm not giving up. I want to stay in the field. You can't go in alone. I'm not alone. I've got you.
Sight Unseen. New episode Wednesday at 9/8 Central on the CW.
File 100% free with TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of taxpayers qualify. Form 1040 and limited credits only. See how at TurboTax.com. That's me!
At Safelite, we'll take care of fixing your windshield. But did you know we can take care of your insurance claim? That means less stress for you.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Have a good one.
You too.
Schedule today at Safelite.com.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day's start. As time went on, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects may include ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of infection in your legs or feet. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story.
Imagine a future where plastic is not wasted, but instead remade over and over into the things that keep our food fresher, our families safer, and our planet cleaner. To help us get there, America's plastic makers are investing billions of dollars to create innovative products and new recycling technologies for sustainable change. Because when you push for smarter solutions, big things can happen.
Antarctica. You have to experience it to truly appreciate the beauty, the wildlife, the sheer majesty. Experience it with state-of-the-art expedition equipment and hands-on scientific research activities, all in exceptional Viking comfort. We invite you to discover the world's 7th continent, Antarctica. Viking, exploring the world in comfort.
I was stuck. Unresolved depression symptoms were in my way. I needed more from my antidepressant. Vraylar helped give it a lift.
Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. And in Vraylar clinical studies, most saw no substantial impact on weight. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults, report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Movement dysfunction and restlessness are common side effects. Stomach and sleep issues, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are also common. Side effects may not appear for several weeks.
I didn't have to change my treatment. I just gave it a lift.
Ask about Vraylar and learn how AbbVie can help you save.
This is Elaine. Please leave a message.
I can't get a hold of my mom.
I'm sure it's nothing.
I've called her 5 times.
I'm sure she's fine.
She always picks up on the first call.
You're gonna make yourself sick. You've been worrying all morning.
Hello?
Hello, this is Life Alert. Your mother had an emergency, and we dispatched paramedics to her home.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what happened?
She had a fall, but don't worry. She is safe, and the paramedics are helping her right now.
Thank you.
Is Grandma okay?
She's gonna be okay. Life Alert send help.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes. With one simple touch of a button, Life Alert sends help immediately. Whether it's to report a fall, a medical emergency, or an intruder, Life Alert sends first responders fast.
For information or a free brochure, call 800-614-2240. 800-614-2240. 800-614-2240.
So good. All right, welcome back to The Hill here on News Nation. It's been a week of headlines for one of the most famous people in this country. After becoming the darling of conservative media for saying he would not endorse President Biden again, you might have seen this as well. After a 7-year hiatus, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson made his return to WrestleMania. All right, around the table we go. What do you see there, Amisha?
Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? I mean, I grew up on The Rock. I'll still be a fan of The Rock, even though I don't believe in his politics. But this isn't new. He spoke at the RNC before. He's been a Republican for quite some time.
You think he's he endorsed Biden last go-around.
Yeah, there are a lot of Republicans who voted for Biden last go-around who are still Republicans. Right. He never changed his affiliation.
What do you see there, Carly?
I see another celebrity getting involved in politics, and I think ultimately the American people just don't care. I think
think so?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it moves voters one way or the other when they see, said celebrity, be it The Rock, an athlete, anybody else, nobody cares.
Beyonce endorsed Hillary Clinton, and that didn't do anything. She's Beyonce.
Hold on, I'm gonna let Kirk go last year for a good reason, but what do you see?
Yummy muscles. Wow.
All right, say it, Nan. So
you know,
Kurt,
I don't really care about his political positions either. But
Kurt, you were there at WrestleMania, I believe, on assignment for us, maybe even.
Yep.
What do you see there from The Rock?
First, I see the final boss.
Okay, there you go, wearing the shirt.
That Rock's mom caught me in the lobby of the Marriott and took a picture of because she wanted the same shirt. I see someone who's going to run for president one day.
You think so?
And I think that's why this is not just your average celebrity, that this is someone who, if you look at the show The Young Rock, which he had for 3 seasons, it casts him as the future president of the United States telling his story, his biographical story, on the campaign trail, fictitiously running for president. I think that this is someone who's positioning himself to run.
All right, hold that thought for a second, because the wrestler turned movie star is now facing backlash from the left after his refusal to endorse President Biden's re-election. The Rock did so in 2020. But in a Fox News interview last Friday, he said he would not be making any endorsements, really at all, this go around. That is not sitting well with some on the left.
That's the kind of, frankly, political cowardice that's hard to respect. I don't understand how Joe Biden is the divisive one when what he's running against is pushing bigotry, xenophobia, every other phobia and ism you could possibly name.
Vanity Fair is now asking this question: is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson turning to the right?
No, he's being what he always has been. Again, she's right. He spoke at the Republican National Convention. And let's set the context, by the way. He was doing this interview on Fox News promoting WrestleMania. He was the main event on Saturday night, WrestleMania Saturday night, the biggest tag team match of all time. He was promoting his appearance there, and this came up. This was not a political interview designed to reach out.
You also choose to go on where to interview. Dwayne Johnson, his team, if you're watching this, we'd love to talk to you. You can come on here on NewsNation on the Hill. We'd love to speak to you about a few things.
Please make sure I'm booked on that.
Okay, there you go. He went on Fox News, though.
Yeah.
And so what does that say?
But he went on he was doing a lot of interviews.
As everybody has said, you know, Mr. Johnson has certainly been a free enterprise, free markets kind of guy. You know, he has a broad appeal. He speaks well. Okay. I think that, you know, Vanity Fair is extremely disappointed that somehow he's not, you know, a lick-spittle Biden supporter, unlike every single writer and publisher at Vanity Fair. Okay. And maybe that says more about them. I think it does.
Carly.
Again, who cares? But I think that he was at least smart to go on Fox, because I think demographically Fox probably matches the people who watch WWE mostly. So I think that that's just a business decision.
I mean, and also understand, Cody Rhodes was on the Today Show. We had The Rock was on the Tonight Show with Roman Reigns 3 days before WrestleMania. They were doing a media
My only thing is I don't understand a lot of the fury around this, again, because he has been, and most people don't remember the 90s or the early 2000s at this point, but he did several Republican events then. Okay. This is not a shift.
All right. Exactly. Meantime, former President Trump's son-in-law, speaking of someone else famous, Jared Kushner back in the spotlight. Check out this headline from the New York Times. As Kushner's investment firm steps out, the potential conflicts are growing. Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners has invested more than $1.2 billion, much of it in firms abroad, drawing new scrutiny as his father-in-law, Donald Trump, again seeks the presidency. All right, so I saw this story this morning. These are the best reporters for the New York Times who interviewed Jared Kushner. You won't hear me speak bad about the folks who wrote this story. So I saw who was on the byline, and I was like, this is going to be interesting. And I read through it, and I read through it, and I read through it, and I read through it. And yes, there are tons of questions about Jared Kushner walking out of the Oval Office and months later getting $2 billion for his fund. Yes. Democrats are floating this idea of, you know what, if you're going to investigate Hunter, what about Jared Kushner? But if that was sort of in that article, like what Jared's up to, I kept looking for the thing, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this before the break, but I think that when the American people see this, they don't really see too much of a difference between Jared Kushner, Hunter Biden. It's still the 1%, the elite.
0.1%.
0.1%, right. Taking advantage of their families' positions of power. And I think that if the Democrats do choose to go down this path, they do so at their own peril, because then they're leaving things on the table that they could be talking about, could be getting done for the American people. I just think it's
Which is exactly what you could say about Republicans right now and their crusade against Hunter Biden. I mean, again, if it's true for Democrats if they go after Jared, well, it's true for Republicans right now at this exact second doing this to someone who, by the way, unlike Jared, never worked in the West Wing in the White House, wasn't actually in the way that Jared is.
Middle East and then made billions of dollars.
If Republicans, if Jim Jordan and James Comer had this scenario about Hunter Biden, my God.
So hold that thought for a second, because here's what Jared Kushner said, quote, following the laws and the rules is something we always do. He goes on to say, perception, I've learned that from my time in politics is important, but I can't control what everyone is going to write or say about me. I see both of you, Democrats, getting animated about Jared Kushner, and there's been this sort of veiled threat to go after Jared Kushner potentially. Should Democrats do so if they have the chance, investigate?
At this point, I think that everybody's been investigated enough. Let's just focus on this election. Okay. I do take issue with where Jared Kushner's money came from, factually, because he was the czar for a lot of our Middle Eastern policy, somebody who had no Middle Eastern policy experience to begin with when he was appointed to that position, and walked off with a ton of money from places like Saudi Arabia.
But to your point, like the New York Times writers really did lay out everything. I mean, it's sort of like, we know there was money from Saudi Arabia. MBS happens to like Jared Kushner. Surprise, surprise.
He also
not
happens
such
to like to chop up American journalists.
Well, the complicated politics of the Middle East, you're right, Amisha, are often ugly, and that's not the only place where they are. But it does seem as though Jared Kushner is entirely forthcoming. He says he's complying completely with the SEC. I would make the argument that in order to avoid any potential appearance of conflict, it might be wise for folks who are in the immediate family of a president to have a blind trust.
I think most people would agree with that.
I don't disagree.
All right, coming up here on The Hill, sports betting in America. Fans wagered $119 billion last year that we know about. But is this something Congress should be involved in? Turns out there is a caucus dedicated to sports betting. You were on the cigar caucus as a congresswoman?
Yes, I was.
I learned today that there was a cigar caucus. I learned today that there was a gaming caucus. On the other side of the break, the head of the Congressional Gaming Caucus joins us here on The Hill. Stay with us.
I have moderate to severe Crohn's disease. Now there's Skyrizi.
Things are looking up. I've got symptom relief. Control of my Crohn's means everything to me. Control is everything to me.
Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Skyrizi, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements. Skyrizi is the first IL-23 inhibitor that can deliver remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. And the majority of people experienced long-lasting remission at 1 year.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to. Liver problems may occur in Crohn's disease.
Now's the time to ask your gastroenterologist how you can take control of your Crohn's with Skyrizi. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
File 100% free with TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of taxpayers qualify. Form 1040 and limited credits only. See how at turbotax.com. That's me!
On Medicare? Have diabetes? With the Freestyle Libre 3 system, you'll know your glucose and where it's headed. No finger sticks needed. Now covered by Medicare for more people managing diabetes with insulin. Visit freestylelibre.us/Medicare.
Victims of mesothelioma and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from the estimated $30 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. Over $50 billion has been awarded already. If you have been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. We have served victims of mesothelioma and their families nationwide for over 30 years. We have successfully recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for thousands of our clients. Even if a family member has passed due to mesothelioma, you may still be entitled to a cash award. So call now for your free evaluation. We want to help victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer and your families get the financial compensation you deserve from the estimated $30 billion in trust funds now available. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, Call 1-800-298-4609 now or visit us at mesofund.com.
It was one thing when my mom got Alzheimer's, but then we started noticing things that seemed off. She developed agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Sometimes she'd fidget with her fingers, get suddenly overwhelmed, and even throw things. And that was just never her. So we asked her doctor what else we could do.
Rexulti is the only FDA-approved medication proven to reduce agitation symptoms that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Rexulti can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, increased cholesterol, low white blood cells, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Rexulti helped reduce my mom's symptoms.
Take action for your loved one. Ask their doctor about Rexulti.
Dude, what are you doing? I'm protecting my car. That's too much work. WeatherTech is so much easier. Laser measured floor liners up here, seat protector and cargo liner back there. Nice. Out here, side window deflectors and mud flaps and the bump step to keep the bumper dent free. Cool. It's the best protection for your vehicle, new or pre-owned. Great. But where do I order? WeatherTech.com.
Megyn Kelly joins Dan Abrams live. She says the Trump trials are a political hit job. Tonight, we face the facts.
You don't want to get attacked? Stay out of politics. It's very simple.
Plus her take on the former president's stance on abortion. Tonight, only on NewsNation.
All right, welcome back here to the Hill on NewsNation. So with all the things that Congress does, did you know that there is also a gaming caucus? They've been kept pretty busy lately with the legalization and rise of sports betting all across the country. But the popularity is a bit of a double-edged sword, as you might imagine. A new op-ed in the Washington Post points out, quote, America is getting addicted to sports betting. Joining us now is the Democratic Congresswoman from Nevada. She represents, as you might imagine, Las Vegas. Dina Titus, she is the co-chair of the Congressional Gaming Caucus. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. Appreciate it. So tell us, this is bipartisan, by the way. Tell us what you do within that caucus and sort of what you're focused on here.
Well, you know, gaming exists now in all but 2 states, and that's a lot of congressional districts. So we are together nonpartisan. It's not ideological. It's to support that industry, just like the automobile industry or the tobacco industry. This is the gaming industry. A lot of what we do, though, is educate members, because some of them have no gaming in their district or just small facilities. And gaming is so heavily regulated. It's a very complex issue that people don't always understand. So it's about education as well as advocacy.
Is there any policy that you're aiming for?
Well, it used to be that gaming played defense. You wanted to keep your head down and your mouth shut because you didn't want the federal government regulating you or taxing you. You wanted to leave that to the states. But now that it's so pervasive, you need some standards set at the federal level. The 2 things we're looking at, one is sports betting and the handles tax that is on sports betting. And the second thing is the cap that you have to meet to report a winning on a slot machine. It's right now $1,200. It was set back in the 1970s. We want to raise that to $5,000 because that's what it would be with inflation.
Hey, with Congresswoman, with just the massive rise in sports betting all across the country, state by state, just about everywhere you go, I wonder, as I sit here and talk to you, sort of what's the lobbying effort like here in Washington? What's the pressure like here as this massive industry has seemingly exploded?
Well, you know, people have always bet on sports, and it used to be a lot of it illegal. One of the things we want to do is make it legal and be sure that it's fair, that it's transparent, that people know that their bets are going to be sound, regulated, and they're going to get paid back. Different casino companies have lobbyists. Indian Gaming has its own lobbyist. So the pressure is there, but it's nothing compared to pharmaceuticals, for example.
Are you watching what's going on with Shohei Ohtani?
we are watching a lot of those things that are happening because they're making the news more and more about some of the different scandals that we have seen across a lot of the different sports, NCAA, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, you name it.
Do you plan to call in any of the leagues?
I've already done that. We sent a letter earlier in the year to all the leagues and their support groups to say you need to be sure that your rules about betting internally as well as externally are very clear, that they are communicated to your players as well as to your staff and the whole operation, and that you're regulating any kind of cheating that's going on. Okay. Now, we got responses from almost all of those leagues about how they were cleaning up their act, and they must be because more of this is coming forward. But it's still out there, so if they don't do a better job of self-regulation, you'll see more pressure for government to step in.
Fascinating. Congresswoman Dina Titus from Nevada. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Hill. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. You know, the Shohei Ohtani story, the biggest star in baseball, is fascinating because if California just had legalized sports betting on the phone, you could place it and there'd be no issue with it. But then all of a sudden, you know, you got questions with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I think, unintended consequences and scenarios that I think all of sports right now is trying to reconcile, especially now that gaming and betting is accessible on your phone. You can get the DraftKings app right there. You can get the BetMGM app, and there are so many different ways now to place a bet and the type of bet that you're placing. It's not just are you betting on someone to win or lose. There's so many different permeations of it.
What'd you say? Point
spread and everything. I have all that. I didn't think I had a problem until Nan mentioned it a while ago. I may need, whatever Bettors Anonymous for sports gambling. It is
1-800 gamblers.
But the flip of it is like this country's getting hooked.
Yes.
You know.
I worry about it. And in the state of New York, we've had a lot of casinos. It's always the proposal for the dismal economy. We'll bring in a casino, which usually just parasitizes the local citizens unless it's a big tourist attraction, which it generally isn't.
I think Kurt brings up an important point where before it was like you had to go physically to a casino, place the bet, and that was something maybe you weren't able to do. But if I just can pick up my phone and do something and maybe I can make a little bit of money, I can see how that
it's
can
the
become
gamification of gambling that's, I think, really serious.
All right. Now, we are looking from our hill to yours. We are spotlighting Texas Hill Country before we go, a region that experienced a bit of a rarity this year. 2 eclipse paths in a 6-month time frame. October's annual eclipse and yesterday's solar eclipse. So what about the politics there, you might wonder? Donald Trump won in that area in the 2016 presidential election in 23 of the 25 Texas Hill Country counties. And in 2020, he won 22 of the 25 counties. And did you know that Hill Country, Texas is also notable for some famous faces? Former President Lyndon B. Johnson, born and raised in that area. Currently, the congressional delegation is made up of all Republicans. Hello to our friends watching us and listening to us on Sirius XM in the Texas Hill Country. By the way, before we go, check out this image real quick. Solar eclipse from yesterday, still not over. Look at the image over at the Washington Monument. NASA took a photo of it. Show the monument picture real quick. There you go. That is a time lapse of the eclipse over the look at that. Over the Washington Monument. Leland Bittert, host of On Balance, joins us on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You're watching The Hill here on NewsNation.
Megyn Kelly joins Dan Abrams tonight on Dan Abrams Live, starting at 9/8 Central.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, and dirt are settling deep into your carpet fibers. Stanley Steamer removes the dirt you see and the dirt you don't. Your carpets aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
If you have Graves' disease and blurry vision, you need clear answers. People with Graves could also get thyroid eye disease, or TED, which may need a different doctor. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
When Barbara switched to TurboTax,
I broke 4 generations of family tradition. Ma, I want to make perfume.
So I made Barbara's new sidekick count by guaranteeing her maximum refund. Intuit TurboTax.
At Safelite, we'll take care of fixing your windshield. But did you know we can take care of your insurance claim? That means less stress for you.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Have a good one.
You too.
Schedule today at safelite.com.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
We got the house! We did!
Pods handles the driving. Pack at your pace, store your things until you're ready, then we deliver to your new home, across town or across the country. Pods, your personal moving and storage team.
We're still going for that nice catch.
We're still going for that perfect pizza. And with higher stroke risk from AFib not caused by a heart valve problem,
we're going for a better treatment than warfarin. Eliquis. Eliquis reduces stroke risk and has less major bleeding. Over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke.
Don't stop taking Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
The #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Ask your doctor about Eliquis.
There are over 7 million U.S. businesses on TikTok.
I'm Sarah Esrich. I'm the Life Enrichment Director at Independence Village, a senior living community in Waukee, Iowa.
Everybody here really, really make you feel like family and that they love you.
Our goal with TikTok was to enrich the lives of our residents.
I think I am a TikTok grandma. My kids think I am.
I mean, we're the ones that are being entertained.
Time goes fast when you're having fun.
Keep TikTok.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission products. We're a fiduciary obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep. We do better when our clients do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
When my doctor gave me Breztri for my COPD, things changed for me. Breztri gave me better breathing, symptom improvement, and reduced flare-ups.
Breztri won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. It is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Don't take Breztri more than prescribed. Breztri may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Ask your doctor about Breztri.
NewsNation Tonight. Dan Abrams on Dan Abrams Live. Tonight, 9, 8 Central. Only on NewsNation. News for all America.
If you're watching this Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance commercial, there's a good chance that you're alive. And if you're not, well, this may not be of interest to you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Life insurance? I'm going to live forever. Death is what happens to other people. Well, for the sake of argument, let's assume you're wrong and that someday you won't be watching TV anymore. I know, it's not easy to talk about, so I'll do the talking. If you're 50 plus and alive, you can apply for Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance with guaranteed acceptance, regardless of your health. And since this life insurance is guaranteed, you don't have to get a medical exam. In fact, you don't even have to fill out a health questionnaire. For a free quote, just call 800-493-9542. Then when you stop, if you stop watching TV, your family can use the insurance money to help cover your final expenses or anything else. For a free quote, call today, 800-493-9542. Your kids already inherited your ears, allergies, and questionable singing voice. Don't make them inherit your final expense tab, too.
Megyn Kelly joins Dan Abrams live. She says the Trump trials are a political hit job. Tonight, we face the facts.
You don't want to get attacked? Stay out of politics. It's very simple.
Plus her take on the former president's stance on abortion. Tonight, only on NewsNation.
All right, welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation. So did you see this? Articles of impeachment against the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, now delayed until next week, Monday, rather than tomorrow. Why, you wonder? Remember how important this was, Leland?
Yes.
You got to go after Alejandro Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Impeach him. Need to get this to the Senate. Must happen because of all that's going to the border. Right. Okay. And so all that's so important. And it is not happening starting tomorrow. Instead, starting next week because...
I was going to say there's some senators who have master's tickets.
Not master's tickets, but you're very close. They have flights to catch.
Right. Well,
they're trying to get out of town. So important. We got to catch the flight first, so let's push this to next week.
It is amazing how quickly things can get done in Washington or get pushed off that are very important when there is flights, sporting events, fundraisers, which is normally where those flights go to, that are scheduled. I think this does show you, though, how Republicans cannot figure out on a number of issues right? Whether it be Ukraine funding, Israel funding, Mayorkas impeachment, how to get out of the box that they have put themselves
in right now. Yeah. What do you got coming up on the show tonight?
Well, guess what? America is not as divided as we think it is.
You don't think so?
I have polling that tells you that it is not. Now, whether you believe the polling or not, that's a different story. So we're going to get into that a little bit and talk to you. And it's interesting. The great presidents that we all remember, that we have nostalgia for, both sides, right? Reagan, Clinton, people kind of look back on, that was kind of pretty good.